Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about how to maintain a great fire. So we'll talk a little bit about getting it started, but we also want to talk about how to maintain it. So that if you want to fire for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours in the night, you can have a great fireside experience the whole time. So we're going to set ourselves up for success, and then later on we'll share a few tips and tricks as the fire is going to help keep it burning efficiently and keep it warm and keep it beautiful. So the first thing we need to talk about is what the 3 main ingredients are for a great fire. So you need heat, you need oxygen, and you need a fuel source. Today I'm using an awesome fuel source. I've got some cutting edge firewood here. This is an extremely dry hardwood. It's gonna burn really well. It's gonna burn for a long time. Today we're using hickory, which is actually our hottest burning wood. Because it's a great fuel source, there's a few things that we're gonna benefit from it. It's gonna have a great aroma. It's gonna burn nice and hot. It's not gonna create too much smoke. And because there's no moisture, you won't have that musty smell. It'll be easier to light, and it will also help protect your chimney because the moisture won't be sticking to the chimney and creating creosote. It's gonna be a much better, much safer experience, and that's why it's an amazing fuel source. But even the best fuel source still needs oxygen and heat to actually have a good fire. So let's talk about oxygen flow. Now I'm using a grate right here, which is very popular in the United States. We have a lot of customers who also have andirons. Andirons are really great for oxygen flow. There's less metal along the bottom, so they're gonna allow better oxygen, which can give you a better experience. But of course, we can still have a great experience with grates, and that's what we're gonna talk about some. It's important not to stack your wood too tightly together, because if the wood's too tight, it will not be able to breathe. The oxygen won't flow, and it's gonna stifle your fire. At the same time, we also need to think about heat. You know, heat is shared when 2 things are closer together. So we really want to have a good balance. If the wood's too far apart, it won't be able to share the heat. If it's too close, there won't be oxygen. So I've stacked the wood with about 1 inch or 2 in between each piece on the bottom, and that will allow great oxygen flow, but still allow for the heat to be shared. The other thing I've done is I've set up some kindling and a couple fire starters down here at the bottom. That way I only need 1 match to get it lit. I'll light that fire starter and it'll get going. We also know a lot of people use gas starters. That's okay. If you're doing that, we still recommend having a couple pieces of kindling or smaller logs along the bottom, because we really want to create a good hot coal base, right? The coals from the fire are what really creates the heat that will warm up your room. It will also help keep the fire going, and when you add more wood, it'll light much more quickly and easily when you have a good coal base. The way I've stacked this is a pretty basic indoor fire. I've got 2 along the bottom and 2 across the top. You can obviously make this much bigger. You could add a 3rd log right down here in the middle. You could add a whole nother row. You could even make it smaller if you don't want your fire to be quite as big. You could take a piece off of the top and just have it a 3rd piece going along the top in a diagonal. So it's really up to you and your preference, what your mood is for the night. You can go big or you can go small, but ultimately we need a few pieces of firewood to have enough fuel for a great fire. Everything I've got here came out of a cutting edge firewood box. It includes some matches, 4 Excelsior fire starters, 4 pieces of heart pine, and some kindling, plus the logs. So it's got everything I need for a great fire experience. So let's get this fire started. 1 match should be all we need. I always like to make sure my flue's open. It is. And we're gonna let this get going here. So as the fire gets going, you'll get to watch, and we'll check back in a little bit to see how it's doing. All right, hey guys, the fire has been going for a while, as you've seen. Hopefully you saw how it just lit up, and because we had it stacked well with the right oxygen, it was able to burn really brightly, even with just 4 pieces of firewood. And that helps having a great fuel source like cutting edge firewood, but also having the oxygen and the heat is big. I've got another little log here. I'm gonna put this along the bottom because I wanna help create that coal bed. This is bigger than a piece of kindling, but not one of my bigger logs. So I'm just gonna slip this under here. You obviously wanna be very careful because this is a fire and it is hot. The other thing that just happened is one of my top 2 pieces of wood has fallen off. So in order for the wood to burn, you wanna keep it close to the heat, right? So I'm just gonna take my designer fire iron here, and I'm gonna push this piece of that log I slept under there just a little bit further back. I'm also going to take some of these pieces of kindling, and I'm just going to move these guys around to kind of get them all together, and so that they can be burning a little bit better. And then this piece that fell, I want to kind of well, we'll just get it to drop down and add that to my coal bed there, right? And since I have had one of my pieces fall, I'm gonna add another one here. You'll see how quickly this lights up because the fire's already hot. We'll just keep an eye on this and see if there's any other tips we can give you. Okay, so the fire's been going for a little bit longer. I've got a couple more pieces falling apart, and basically I have a couple options here. I can kind of leave it as it is, which won't be the best. So you can see how some of the wood's starting to fall away. I can also take things, so this piece is broken and this piece down here has also broken. So what I'm gonna do, instead of adding more wood, because I don't need to do that yet, I'm just gonna bring these pieces and bring them a bit closer together, right? And I can also, if I give this a little tap, you see that? All those coals just drop down into the fire. So now I've got an even hotter base, a better base. These pieces of firewood, you see how it's burning it towards the center because that's where the heat is. The further away it is, the less it's burning. So I can actually take some of these pieces and flip them over and bring them back in so that they'll continue burning. So I can leave that like that. If I want to really do a bigger fire, I can add another piece now. But as you can see, there's a great coal bed going. There's a lot of heat. I'm having to get further and further away. It's gonna be tough to stay in the camera, but this fire is gonna burn like this for quite a while. Remember, you need a great fuel source, you need good oxygen flow, and you need heat. And the closer the wood is to the heat, the better it's gonna burn. We still need space for oxygen, and having a great fuel source is the other key to maintaining a great fire. So hopefully this was helpful. If you want to give cutting edge firewood a try, we recommend trying out one of our boxes. Again, it's got everything you need to have a great fireside experience. Or we also sell firewood by the rack if you're really into great fire experiences. We'd love to take care of you. So thank you for watching. We'll see you again on our next video.